Good morning. Hey. Hey everybody, how you doing today? I said, how you doing today? Good, you've been having a good time in Miami? Excellent. My name is Xavier Hawk, and I run a company called Firon Global Partners. I've been at this conference since 2014, when it was 300 of us nerds in t-shirts and flip-flops, discovering the bright new world of decentralization. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown between the hype versus the reality of what's going on here in the crypto space. I've been here, I've been watching it, I've been developing and innovating in it, and I'm going to tell you some of the things that people probably won't tell you, right? Because the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off. There's a lot of hype going on in the industry right now, and the reason why is because the imbalance in the economic system, in the governance system of the planet. The proper way of doing this is real decentralization, and I'm going to get into that in a moment. But first I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, go into the hype versus the reality, thoughts and considerations of the whole space, and then kind of outline what the perfect system looks like and why we're building it, okay? So I'm one of the earlier entrepreneurs and innovators in this space. Whoops, there we go. 2013, bought a suitcase full of cash at MIT and bought Bitcoin at $20, right? I knew it was the thing, and that was because I was building a template for the future. Community, decentralized governance. I was looking at things like time dollars, Ithaca Cash, and this was before Bitcoin, and when it popped, I was like, this is it. Not only do we have a system of economics that we can use, but we can understand how to decentralize governance, which is the #1 name of the game. And so I also architected the first multi-asset-backed stable price instrument. So this got me some notoriety. I ended up speaking at the World Economic Forum, lecturing at Oxford Site Business School. I went and taught the Chinese how to build a social merit system, and frankly, that was a big mistake, because I was naive and thinking that we all want a big, beautiful planet that we can work together on and have a say in the future direction of. And I'm going to tell you why crypto, especially Bitcoin and some of these other solutions that are out now, are not the solution, as crazy as that sounds. So our dev team built the first quantum computer for the United States military and the IBM and Google's blockchain. We have a HIPAA-compliant blockchain as well. This is some of the most advanced technology here on the planet in terms of decentralization. So everybody thinks Bitcoin is decentralized, and here's why it is not. Most of the mining was done in China. Right now, I'm servicing a lot of those Chinese miners coming to the United States looking for land and power, which they can't find because there's not enough power to supply all of the megawatt needs. So much so that this ties in with the founder of Signal putting a post out a few days ago about how basically there's not enough decentralization in this whole system, and that a lot of this talk was based off of it. And when he started speaking, I was like, he knows what he's talking about here. So we have a lot of the mining going on in one area. Now it's being, spread out, but it's still in the hands of a few individuals. And if they all decided that they wanted to do a 51% attack, they could. They could fork the whole chain and screw all of us, and we wouldn't have any say in how that goes. We watched that happen with Ethereum. If you remember the DAO, the DAO got hacked, and they were like, oh, we're just going to sweep that under the rug, fork it from beforehand, and not one person here had a say in how that goes or how that went. So the same 6 people code the Bitcoin blockchain, and if they decide they wanted to go a certain way, literally there's no recourse that you have against them for doing that. Sure, it could go to court, people could sue, but there's no contracts there. It's trustless, right? Same thing with Ethereum, same thing with ADA, same thing with all of these layer 1 protocols, and frankly, most of the chains that are out there, some companies were looking at doing true decentralization. Arc was one of them, EOS was one of them, but the fact is that the governance model based on the current legacy systems, where the more you hold, the more vote you have, is what's broken. Broken not just our financial system, but our governance system, because it consolidates the power into the hands of a few. So 1% in the Bitcoin space own more than 50% of all of the Bitcoins out there. It's just the same legacy system, but with more efficiency for the digital age. Because the fundamental shift that hasn't happened is the fundamental shift in our consciousness and what our results are. The reason you all are here is because this is the fastest growing industry in the world where you can make the fastest amount of money. Why? Because you want to get out of the system as it is. You want freedom. You want to be able to make choices. You want to be able to have options for your children. You want to be able to have the ability to live a life that is happy on your terms. Why is that? Because the system's broken And it's causing all of us to run into these kinds of systems. And we're just running blindly because we're so desperate for something different that we're overlooking some of the very intrinsic fallacies of this whole industry. That's why I've been sitting back patiently and saying, you know what, I could have launched when Ethereum did. I could have launched and I'll tell you why I didn't, because I've been speaking at this conference since 2014, except for the 2 years I was in hiding, and I'll tell you why I was in hiding. So, the idea that NFTs exist, Infura and Alchemy, the founder of Signal, he pointed this out. These are layer 1 protocols, but also centralized systems that interface with the underlying decentralized blockchain. What he did is he made an NFT that showed up differently on different sites, basically. You know, he made an NFT, changed it, and then when the owners of either Rarible or OpenSea, whichever one he was on, recognized what was happening, they said, holy shit, this is a flaw in our system that nobody knows about. They kicked him off, right? Because he opened the floodgates and pointed out the fact that everybody thinks that these are all decentralized, but they're not. So if that one company goes down or that one server goes down, the whole industry goes down. And people don't recognize this. We have points of failure that are so vital to the whole industry that are not being addressed because everybody's so desperate to get out of the system and get their own at the expense of others, frankly. So we've come up with a system using quantum computers and blockchain to be able to make your phone a node without using all of the computational power that's required in killing your phone very fast. So you essentially become a terminal node running for the whole system. This is how we decentralize the act, because nobody wants to run their own server. That was the thesis of this fella that founded Signal. We make that very easy, and that's how you truly decentralize something. So the end of poverty, right? That is the goal, both of Firon, myself, and frankly, this industry and every one of you, it should be. Because the truth is that if we all had a good amount, well, thank you for that. God bless you. So if we each had $100,000 a year, there's been studies that show that boop, you know, you become happy at that point. You become free, you're able to take care of all of your bills, and we had access to, you know, yachts, exquisite travel, exquisite airplanes, airliners. If we had access to those in a company that owned all of those, but we were making enough to survive and we ended poverty, not only would we end poverty and solve all of the problems with crime, trafficking, drugs, all of these issues and robbery and all of the crimes that take place at the highest levels, we would create a spiritual revolution where once our physical needs were taken care of, we would be able to actually access the true divinity of our species, right? God bless you, thank you. I know a guy personally who's a very wealthy, very successful real estate guy, and he's making billions of dollars, right? And he's selling courses and doing all of this stuff. You might know him. But the whole business model is acquire real estate and increase the rent. Acquire real estate and increase the rent. And what does that do for everybody else? It squelches them. If we all had the opportunity to not have finances be an issue, everybody would be artists. Everybody would be, like we see it on TikTok. People are sharing the most ridiculous, amazing stuff, culturally relevant, and the knowledge collectively that we are sharing is increasing exponentially because people have the time and the wherewithal to be able to do that. So this is the number one priority of Firon, is to be able to, and we had a think tank in Germany look at our currency design and say, if people are using your system, it'll end poverty for everybody in the system. So what we do is we say, okay, we use the same KYC and AML that the central banks use. No commercial banks has access to the same KYC security protocols that we have. And we're able to say, okay, we know if you're a trafficker, we know if you're a terrorist, we know if all of these. Once you pass that, you're welcome in. And because we're using a number of blockchains, we're actually able to scramble all of your data way better than any of the privacy coins out there. So you come in, you're vetted, you get to go in and do all of the business. And if we get subpoenaed, it's like, here's all the data. Good luck figuring it out because we can't either. So we protect everybody's data. We give them the opportunity to do the business that they want to do. And then when we collect all of the transaction fees, we're basically a cooperative bank. So we're processing all of your transaction fees. We put that into a pool, and then everybody votes who is a member owner on where that goes. So imagine the Federal Reserve owned by all of us. Imagine the World Bank owned by us. Everybody having a stake and a say in how that goes and how we spend the profits of that. That's the premise of Firon and what we're doing. So we can avoid these things, like the fascist dystopia and the Chinese social credit system and the life on the chain that is rapidly developing around us because everybody's trying to get theirs. When really, if you have a yacht, you have a boat, you have all, like, I know billionaires who are the most miserable people on the planet because they're collecting the karma of screwing all the people below them. And that's how the system is built. And that's what we reward. And those are the people that we see on television. When nobody wants to fucking see those people, we want to experience happiness ourselves. We want to have freedom ourselves. And we want to have a say in which way the planet and our civilization goes. We have the technology now to sit there. You could sit on the toilet and determine the fate of destiny of the human species with your voice. Because we can do asynchronous voting on the blockchain that is completely, you can't forge it because we can't forge, a blockchain token. So I get really passionate about this, obviously, because this has been my life mission, and it's been very, very gracious of Mo and the team here to have me, and I love speaking to you all because, frankly, I feel like I'm talking to the world and saying, let's get our act together, right? We all want the same things. Let's cooperate and make that happen, and I've built a system that allows us to do that. Thank you. And it comes down to this, a commons-owned situation. Everybody owns it. If the park, the tragedy of the commons is that if everybody owns everything, nobody owns everything. Nobody owns anything. The parks go to shit, our collective, and this has been the failure of communism, the failure of capitalism, the failure of all of these isms, when all we really need to do is cooperate and have a biofeedback mechanism where if the value of our park goes down because people are leaving it to shit, we feel it in our pocketbooks immediately. A couple cents here, a couple cents there. We can actually measure the health of our communities, the health of our healthcare system, the health of our education system through customized token access and token representation so that you can look at the entirety of an economy and gauge its health, gauge its success, and its efficacy on the value of its tokens. And this is what I don't want to say everybody's missing, but this is what we are missing right now. We're so desperate to get out of this system that we're not looking at the system as something that needs to be fixed. In 2014, when all of us little libertarian nerds came into this, we were like, we're going to change the world. Then the next year, it was like, they're the bankers, and then all of a sudden everybody's wearing suits and wanting to impress everybody. And I'm like, what happened? And I know none of the other systems, God bless him, Charles, he's a brilliant guy. All of these different layer 1 protocols, none of them are actually addressing what I'm actually talking about. And that's the redistribution of power in the world, the redistribution of wealth. What they're doing is they're giving other people an opportunity, clever ways to make new money. If you think about it, if all Ethereum did was a clever way to make a token available and then cover up their doing that might or might not be, SEC regulated because the people that were on their team worked for the SEC. There's a lot of weird stuff that's been going on in this industry. My point here is that, I don't want to implicate anybody, but I want to say that now everybody's able to make their own tokens and break securities laws, right? And it's just that they can't catch up with everybody. And now it's gone to the point where it's not just corporations, it's individuals issuing their own NFT securities, right? And so the idea is whack-a-mole. They can't go after everybody fast enough, but this isn't the right tactic. The right tactic is to actually go and address what the real concern is, and that is the decentralization of governance with a stable price trade instrument that we're able to do business globally with. The reason I know that these guys aren't actually addressing that, because they haven't had to avoid being kidnapped by a pirate Somalian gang. They haven't had to avoid and survive an assassination attempt like I have. They haven't addressed and gotten hacked for $160 million and told, don't you ever stick your neck out again, boy. Because when you really go up against the system and you really make a change that threatens the cowards who are running the thing, because all they've done is they've cheated and taken as much as they can, got on top of the hill, and are preventing everybody from getting on top of the hill. When really what we want to do is cooperate, have fun, explore life, and have a beautiful life with our families and our children. And that's what I'm here to build. Thank you very much.